my name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible, published with John Wiley & Sons, the largest book ever written on the subject of social media. And today we're here with Krista Canfield, PR manager for LinkedIn. How cool is this? And we'll be speaking about LinkedIn and social networks. So let's get started. Krista, please tell our listeners who you are and what you do at LinkedIn and a little bit about what LinkedIn is.
Sure, no problem. I'm the PR manager for LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is basically an online professional network. We have over 25 million members at this point. We're about evenly split between having our member base that is in the U.S. and then globally, so it's a great way for professionals to get an international experience and get advice from professionals all over the world.
How cool. If no one has ever if you actually bumped into somebody who didn't know about LinkedIn, which would kind of be rare, what's the most important thing that you would want to tell them about the functions and the value of what LinkedIn does?
Yeah, I mean, basically what LinkedIn does is it helps professionals accelerate their success, and they can do that in a number of different ways, whether it be looking for employees and trying to get a bit more background information on them and what they've done in the past and who they've worked with in the past, or we've even had companies that have acquired other companies through the website. Small business owners are using the answers portion of LinkedIn to get advice on building their business and taking it to the next level. So it really depends on what success means to you, but LinkedIn can definitely help in a variety of different ways.
That's pretty cool, and it kind of answers the second question, how are people using LinkedIn? Companies are actually getting acquired through LinkedIn?
Yeah, there was one company that actually got acquired by the Weather Channel, and LinkedIn helped facilitate that whole process. There was a guy, and he knew that his company was going to be the perfect fit for the Weather Channel, just wasn't sure how to get in front of the right person. So what he did was he actually did a search for the person on LinkedIn that might be the right contact at the Weather Channel, sent him an email. They began an email dialogue, and within a few months his company ended up getting acquired by the Weather Channel. So it's just a demonstration of how LinkedIn can get you in touch with the right people and make sure that you're getting your business ideas, your own personal you brand in front of the right people.
And that's what's amazing about this. And I got to be honest, I use LinkedIn all the time to make connections. I needed to set up a meeting with Microsoft because one of my companies has a patent that I recently received, and we're talking about acquisition. And just by typing in Microsoft and looking through, I found the right people. Same thing with Google. And most recently, to get to the CEO of Linden Labs, which creates Second Life, I actually used LinkedIn, and I'm only 2 degrees of separation away from the CEO. So I'm in the process of using it right now.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's all about leveraging your relationships. I think the whole idea of creating LinkedIn in the first place was, one, to keep in contact with all the different people that you've worked with in the past, friends, family members, coworkers, all those sorts of things. Because a lot of times if you get someone's business card and you want to get in touch with them 3 years later down the line when you do need that reference or you need that recommendation, a lot of times that person has switched roles and they're at a different company, so that email address, that phone number may no longer be of use to you. So first and foremost, it was meant to be a way to stay in touch with all the people that you've worked with in the past, even if they've changed positions or switched companies. But the other thing that it really enables you to do is to find the right person who's going to be the right contact for you, no matter what company that may be at. But if you're working off the relationships that you already have, you never know who your best friend may know. Your best friend, chances are, works at a totally different company in a totally different role from what you do. So they have a whole other network of people that you could probably utilize that might help you accomplish your goals. So it's all about working off of those relationships to get things done.
And I find that really true. One of the things about social media is trusted network. And when I was presenting Social Media Bible in Orlando, one of the people that were in the audience went into LinkedIn, and it turned out that one of my good friends here in Phoenix had been friends with this guy for 20 years, and now I'm part of this trusted network because we have a friend that we each respect in common.
Very cool.
And one of the other things that's really exciting is we forget often is this service is free. That's what's unbelievable.
Yeah, a lot of people are always surprised. We do offer premium accounts for people that are looking to reach out to more people outside of their network. But for the most part, that free version can actually help you get a lot done. So it's definitely easy to jump in there with both feet and try it out without having to worry about something that you need to pay on a monthly basis until you're ready for that level of commitment.
And the premium services are absolutely worth the cost, because even the cost is not that much.
Yeah, they start off at $19.95 per month, and then there's one level above that, and then we also have our corporate solutions, which are meant for internal HR teams that are doing recruiting. So companies like Symantec and TiVo use us to help recruit and find employees, so their internal teams use that.
Well, that's a great idea, too. I just kind of assumed that it was always open to the public and external, but yeah, using it as an internal tool would be really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I love this stuff. What are the type of people? What's the demographics? Could you describe the typical person using LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure. The average user is around 41 years old. They have a household income of just over $110,000. But we also have everybody from like high-level CEOs. Bill Gates is on LinkedIn. We have professional athletes like Yao Ming has a profile on LinkedIn.
Really?
Both presidential candidates have profiles on LinkedIn. But we also have over 600,000 small business owners. So there's really a wide range of people that are on the website, and certainly professionals from every single industry.
Wow, those are really impressive numbers. You said the total number of people registered at LinkedIn is 25 million?
Yep, over 25 million people across the world.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So LinkedIn is really a premium social media kind of tool. Are there other ways that you can combine maybe some of the other social media tools that are out there with LinkedIn? Is there like an interface where you can mash up?
Well, yeah, we do actually have an API that a number of different sites use. So if you go to, say, Business Week's website or the New York Times website, or if you go to, like, CXO Media, which owns CIO.com, there's another site called Simply Hired that's using our API. And what's really cool about the API is it'll show you, if you're reading an article at Business Week, I think the way Business Week's API is set up is that it reads the first company name that appears in the headline of the article. And it'll show you, if you give it permission to let you log into your LinkedIn account simultaneously while you're looking at that article, it'll show you if the article is about Volkswagen, who you know in your network that knows someone who works at Volkswagen. So it's very powerful to a professional who may be looking at an article and saying, wow, my company's a great fit for Volkswagen, or I think Volkswagen would be the perfect client for us, or wow, gee, I'd love to work at Volkswagen. To be able to sit there and say, oh, my friend Joe is connected to Susan who works at Volkswagen. So it definitely makes the world a smaller place and really helps you get business done much more.
That's an incredible concept where you can take all of this information that resides in your database and actually vertically market it, vertically position it, as you just said in an article, and even more vertical, Volkswagen, so that all this information is actually being presented in a very accurate context.
Yep.
That's really good. I didn't realize that you guys do that. That's pretty cool. Can you tell me a little bit about who actually started LinkedIn and why they started it?
Yes, we have two founders, Reid Hoffman and Alan Blue. And as I was saying before, the real reason that they came up with it was Reid is one of those guys who has a huge network in Silicon Valley. And it just came to a point in time when he said, wow, it's getting difficult to keep track of everyone when they move around to different companies, but it's a small world and you know you're going to run into these people again, or you may want to work with them again. So it originally began as a way to stay in touch with everybody that you've worked with. And then beyond that, we started realizing that it's much easier to work off of relationships that you already have. I think any business person knows that it's a lot easier to get a deal done when you know someone who knows someone that works at the company, or to get a job offer at your dream company when you know that your father knows someone who works at the company. So anytime you have that little extra ledge, that extra something that helps you get a foot in the door, that's something that is going to make your life much easier and much simpler. So that's where the original concept for LinkedIn came from.
Well, you hear the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly. We firmly believe in that one.
Yeah, that's kind of like a corporate slogan. And that's what I find too. I mean, even when I'm looking for employees or service providers or vendors, I won't just go out and pick anybody. I'll always go through my network and ask, who have you used? Do you trust them? Do they do good work? And it just seems to circumvent a lot of problems. And again, that gets back to this trusted network that you provide this incredible tool for.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've gotten a chance to check out the answer section of the website, but that's extremely valuable as well. Basically, you can ask any question as long as it's business or professionally related, and you can either make it a private question and just send it to a few people, whether it be 3, 5, however many in your network that you really know because you don't want everybody to know you're asking a question, or you can make a question public. When you make a question public, that means that all 25 million users can go ahead and comment on it. So a question's up for about a week, and usually that question gets a response 93% of the time, and the first response is within 8 or 9 hours. So we've seen people ask everything from, should I buy a Mac or a PC? Do you know of an accountant that works in Las Vegas that you recommend? All sorts of questions that are helping people build their business and making work life a lot easier day to day. And the cool thing is, too, that when people respond to your question, you actually see their response, and then you see their name and their title and what company they work at, and you can always go ahead and click on that hyperlink of their name next to the response, and that'll take you to that person's profile. So that also enables you, as the person asking the question, to figure out how much you really value that person's response. If there's someone who's saying you shouldn't go with a competitor's product, and you look and you see that their company is a direct competitor, you may not value that as much as someone who's got the same title as you at a similar firm in a similar industry. So it's a very powerful tool.
That's a really good point. The answer section, you're looking at free consulting, free mentoring, and it actually even creates kind of a wiki, a database, knowledge base.
Yeah, and you can actually go ahead and search past answers or past questions that have been asked on answers as well if you don't know exactly how you want to phrase the question that you're looking for. The other cool thing that we're seeing, too, is that a lot of small business owners, consultants, freelancers are doing a search through the questions that are being asked, and they'll look for, by keyword or by industry, and look for things that they can comment on, because you can actually earn expertise by giving people good responses, because at the end of that week, the person asking the question actually gets to rate the responses. So if you keep getting best answers or best responses in same categories, you're going to end up earning expertise, which is another thing that you can kind of present on your professional brand when you are looking for clients or have people interested in your services or products.
That adds a lot of value to your profile in there, as well as people making actual recommendations for you.
Yeah, the recommendations are huge. We're seeing a lot of people that are using those very strategically as well. And the big thing is when you ask for a recommendation, I always tell people that it's a good idea to kind of let the person know, first of all, that you'd be very gracious if you could get a recommendation from them, but also say, hey, I would love it if you could comment on some of the work that I did with client X, or whatever thing you want to really spotlight on your profile. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you'll find people don't really mind when you kind of help point them in a little bit of the direction that you want to go in. And it helps, too, if you explain why you love that recommendation. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're looking at building up that particular vertical that you work in, and you really want people to be commenting on your work in that vertical so that other clients see that. So it definitely doesn't have to be more specific when you ask for them, but we're finding that a lot of people are using those and seeing a great deal of value in them.
That is a great deal of value. I never even thought about that as actually working the vertical and becoming known for what you specifically work in, such as social media Bible. That's really a valuable tool.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of journalists, reporters, writers using it, and you can actually add websites on your profile. So you have like 3 spots where you can add websites. So when it's a journalist, you'll see a lot of people will put their company link in, and then they'll put links to their most recent articles or their most recent blog posts, or in your case, maybe your most recent podcast. But if you're a small business owner, we're seeing people use those slots for different things. So they may have their company website as one. But then for those other 2, they might include links to articles that were written about their company, or maybe links to a customer's website. So there's a lot of different things that you can do there to kind of spotlight the different work that you do and kind of showcase that in a way that's easily digestible for potential clients or potential employers.
And really handy, because everything is right there, all the information, people that you know, what you're famous for, your recommendations, your links to your website. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for anybody who's trying to do some research on you.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really cool, too, is you can actually search for people by title or by company name or by industry or location. So having the power to do that, I mean, even if you're someone who's not super high level in their career and you're looking to kind of see where you need to get going in your career in order to move up the corporate ladder, it's neat to do a search for CMOs, and maybe that's the title you one day want to hold is to be a CMO. To do a search for different CMOs that are in the industry that you'd like to work in and take a look at their profile, and without even contacting anyone, you can get a lot of information from someone's profile. You can see what positions they've held, what school they went to, and you may be surprised that they didn't stay in marketing the entire time, that they might have been in another industry or another role before they attained that position. So that can give you a lot of valuable feedback even when it comes to how long someone needs to hold the role right before they become a CMO. So there's a lot of interesting research that you can do there, even if you're someone who's just starting off in their career.
That's incredible advice. And one of the things that I'm hearing stories about is HR using LinkedIn to research potential employees.
Yeah, we're seeing people from across every single vertical, every single industry, every single title using it in different ways that are helpful to them. Another new thing that we added a few months ago is LinkedIn company profiles. So we have profiles for over 160,000 companies. So there's a lot of interesting information that you can get from there. There's like a basic description on the company. It'll show you where employees most likely worked before they came to that company and where they're most likely to leave and go to afterwards.
Oh.
For someone in HR, that's really interesting because if you sit there and you know the top 5 companies that most of your employees have come from, you probably want to take a harder look at those potential employees when they come in for interviews because you know you already hire from that company a lot. Conversely, if you see that there's 5 companies that your employees usually leave and go to, you're probably going to want to take a look and see what sort of things that what incentives are they offering your employees? Why are employees attracted to that company so you can kind of help combat that? But that information, even though it's the same information, can be used in a totally different way for someone who's looking for a job. Because for you, maybe you can't work at Apple today because you know that's a big leap in faith to go get a job there. But if you know the 5 companies that Apple employees came from before they went to Apple, maybe you want to check out those 5 companies and use that as a stepping stone to your job that you hope to one day get at Apple. So a lot of interesting and useful information there as well.
That's an incredible observation. I never really thought about using LinkedIn kind of as an employee market research tool, basically.
Oh, yeah. Those profiles have a lot of interesting information. They've got the top schools that employees are most likely to have graduated from. So if you have a kid who's a high school student that wants to work at Google one day or work at Nike one day, being able to see what schools a lot of those current employees are alumni of that can be very useful as well. And it also gives you a breakdown such as what the average age of the employees are. And that can be useful information, too, because you may not want to work at a place where the average age is 22 or where it's 65. It all kind of depends on your comfort level. But that kind of information is something you're not going to find on the everyday corporate website. So it gives you a unique perspective into a company.
That's really a good point, too, as well, the age demographic. Recently, I was over the world headquarters of Google, and we're talking college kids. We're talking flip-flops and jeans and sweatshirts and Starbucks coffee cups. And it reminded me of the old days of Apple when they first started out in the 80s and early 90s. But then a month later, I was up at the world headquarters of Microsoft, and it was a completely different atmosphere. People wearing shirts and ties, and definitely different types of personalities. One would not clearly fit into the other.
Yeah, and while you've got all this information there, and that gives you one kind of view of the world that might exist at that company, it'll also give you info like who in your network is connected to people at whatever that company is, the company that you're looking at the profile of, and that can be extremely useful too because we were talking about if you're looking at a potential client or a partner or something like or a vendor, then that's useful. But it's also useful as an employee because if I know, and I think that maybe I'm a woman who's returning to the workforce after having a kid, and I'm not really sure how to get a new job or what I need to be doing, but I really think Company X is the perfect fit for me. It seems like a good fit, but going to an interview can be time-consuming, so maybe I want to check it out and do a little more due diligence before I even walk through those interview doors. One of the things you can do is reach out to people in your network that know people that work at that company and ask them what their real work experience at that company is like. Do they have a work-life balance? Are they working 18-hour days? Because if they are, as a new mom coming back to the workforce, maybe that's not a good fit for you. It might seem like the right company, but maybe the work-life balance isn't the right fit. So getting that kind of opinion from someone who actually currently works there can be very valuable.
That's a really great tip for LinkedIn users. I never even would have thought of that. That's really cool. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier that doesn't come to mind is searching schools and organizations. And an example is that, again, I needed to get into a Fortune 500 company. And one of the companies that I own, my partner is both naval graduate, and he's also graduated at MIT. And the MIT group is a very kind of a tight-knit organization, and they really will bend over backwards to help one another, the alum. And we just typed in MIT, and honest to goodness, it took us less than 10 minutes, and we found 2 of the contacts, and they turned out to be the best contacts possible because of that relationship.
Yeah, there's just a wealth of information, and the things that we've talked about today are just a couple of examples. Like I said, a lot of that information, it all kind of depends on what success means to you and where you want your career to go, and how you want to use that information to best help you. I mean, even simple emails. I just think that it's amazing to me that you can look for the right person like you did in your case, but you can also take a look at their profile and see if there's any similarities between you and this person before you reach out to them. So in your case, it may have been that you were graduates of the same school. In someone else's case, it might be that they see under their hobbies that they enjoy sailing and that they used to live on the East Coast. And you can kind of start off an email to them in that way and make it a lot more personalized, because people are always going to respond much better when you give them something that's personalized versus something that's a generic, hey, let's connect and share network.
Absolutely true, and that's one of the terms used in social media is trusted network, and how better to build a trusted network than to immediately find common ground, something you have in common with that other person.
Definitely, and we're always a big advocate of telling our users to only connect to people that they actually really know and trust. So make sure that they are people that you've worked with or that you actually have met in the past. If it's someone that you met once at a conference and you didn't really hit it off with them, you didn't have anything in common, they weren't interested in what you do, but you sat on the same panel, there may not be a reason for you to connect to that person, because if you were in a rough spot and you needed a reference on an employee, or you needed to get to this person's friend who works at Apple, then maybe they wouldn't pass that request along. So you really want to make sure that you're being very vigilant about your network and who you're inviting in. So if it's someone that you met at a conference and you hit it off with them and they were really interested in your company and really excited about what you were doing in your career or what paths you've taken, then that might make sense to connect to that person. But it's important to think about that, because you're really inviting these people into your network so that they can also network with your friends' friends and coworkers and colleagues, so that also is a reflection of you as a professional.
That's an incredible insight. Yesterday I interviewed for the podcast David Knorr, and he's the author of Relationship Economics. And I wasn't familiar with that terminology, and basically he said the same thing that you just said, is that don't connect with people just to get connections. It's not about the number of connections. It's really about the economics. It's about the quality of the connection.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. It's not a popularity contest. I know a lot of people sit there and they look at other networking sites and they kind of get a little nervous because they're like, wow, I only have 30 friends, but these people have, 1,500. What does that mean? Am I doing this wrong? Is it not going to work for me? And then the thing is it's actually probably going to work better for you if you keep your network close to your heart and making sure that it's people that you really know and trust, because those people are going to be more likely to help you in any one of those number of different scenarios that we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely, and a colleague of mine actually was one of the first people ever to sign up for LinkedIn, and he kind of brags that he has over 6,000 links. And really, how many of those really could you count on to help you move?
Yeah, it's really, you want to think about it, and it's one thing to say you have a lot of connections, but you've got to think about in terms of, it's just like having a group of friends. Of course, your professional network is probably going to be even a little larger, because that's going to encompass coworkers, bosses, and your friends, and family, and everyone else, so it should be a little bit larger than your day-to-day friend network. But if you think about it, it's one of those things where it shouldn't be too out of control because there's no way for you to manage all of those relationships or to keep them as good. It's like nurturing a plant. You want to make sure that you're taking care of it and that you are giving back to these people and helping them in professional ways as well as asking them for advice and for feedback on different things that you're working on. So you want to make sure that you're both giving to and getting from the network.
Boy, that's a great summary. That's a great observation. Thank you. Lastly, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about LinkedIn that you think might be helpful?
I think it's just all about getting out there and giving it a try and jumping in with both feet. One of the things I told someone the other day, one of the great things about LinkedIn's answer section is, he said, there's no dumb questions. And I said, that's exactly right. As long as it's related to your professional career or it's a business-related question, you can ask just about everything. This guy was asking something about, he had a small business, and he said, I don't know if I need an internet policy, and I feel kind of silly even knowing if I should be asking. I feel like I should know that as a small business owner, but I'm going to post the question up there and see what happens. And sure enough, people responded, and they said, these are websites you might want to check out. Here's an example of one that I wrote. So you'd be amazed at the quality and the quantity of responses that you get from virtually any business-related question. But conversely, make sure that you're also contributing to the network. So you might want to take a browse through some of the industries that you specialize in and see if you can offer someone else a lending hand.
And that's really another good observation is that of the 72 million single employee businesses in the United States, this is an incredible resource to be tied into where they can get a helping hand. Exactly. Wow. Okay. Can you tell us where we can find out more information about LinkedIn?
Well, you can go to linkedin.com. LinkedIn, all one word, .com. But if you're brand new to LinkedIn and you're not exactly sure how to get started and you want kind of a helping hand through it, you can also go to learn, LEARN, .linkedin.com, and that'll be a site that'll provide you with a little extra information in case you need some help getting started.
Well, I think I'm going to go there as well because just in this interview you brought up a whole bunch of really great ideas I never even thought of using this tool for. Thank you. This is
no
great.
problem.
Well, thank you. I'd really like to thank Krista Canfield, PR Manager at LinkedIn, for being here today and really sharing those incredible, valuable insights for us all. And this has been Lon Safko, the co-author of the Social Media Bible, published by John Wiley & Sons. Be sure to check out our other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible book and at our companion website, thesocialmediabible.com. For more information about me, Lon Safko, or to learn how I can speak at your company or your next event, please visit my website at lonsafko.com. And thank you, everyone, for being with us here today.